morning, everybody. I have the pleasure of introducing to you Ben Joseph, who is the Chief Data Officer for the USPS OIG. When you think about the models that you're developing to identify precursors to fraud or actual fraud that's occurring, when you think about like leveraging the data sets that are available across agency, what are the considerations in terms of how to do that? Because by definition, the data is sensitive. In your agency alone, much less any other organization, there are probably regulations that need to be complied with. We know that when, particularly with large language models, when data is ingested by the model, it becomes the model. There's no way to extract that back out. So I'm just curious, when you think about the considerations of leveraging these powerful tools, there's obviously privacy security concerns that sit in the background. Would love to understand a little bit about your take on how you were dealing with those.
So, interesting space that we are certainly defining as we speak. Again, with some of the experiments that we've done before, what we come to know is that one is we got to follow some of the standards that have already been put out in our space. I mean, there are a couple of standards that we actually abide by when it comes to handling data, especially for some of our customers like auditors, right? There is something called as a SIGI Blue Book Yellow Book standard, and we also have other standards like Blue Book that we also follow. Now, the thing with that is, anytime you're bringing data from a source like an authoritative source that originates data, you got to make sure that the entire lineage is completely followed. Meaning, through every walk, we got to maintain what was done in terms of transformations, what type of merging and mashing and all that has been applied. That entire lineage has to be maintained. Okay, there is a term that we also give it. It's called as a data reliability. So auditors are big on data reliability because before they write their audit reports and all that, right, they want to make sure that the data they are using in order to inform the audits, right, it is reliable. How did you get it? How did you ingest it? What are some of those steps that you went through even before it came to their hands for analysis, right? All of that is applicable. We actually take a lot of those principles and we also apply our own data governance or data quality principles on top of it. And now when it comes to AI/ML, we are trying to make sure that, we are also coming up with a lot of transparency in that space. That is, what type of models are being used? First thing is this supervised or unsupervised? Obviously, when it gets to the unsupervised phase, we are trying to make sure that our data scientists, they are able to kind of look at the research papers. They're able to understand, okay, how was this algorithm created? How was this model created? What was powering that entire model? What algorithms? Is that something that is reproducible? Those aspects are pretty key. Okay. Now, when you're getting into the supervised space, obviously some of those principles still apply, but we are in control with the data. Like what features are being put out, and from these features, what vectors are being created? Is that something that is interpretable or not? So that transparency element is big in the development space. Then obviously we are also looking at fairness. Like we don't want to get into some of those areas that are a little blurry and become sensitive, right? So those are things that we also take into consideration. So in combination with a couple of these principles is how we are kind of approaching the development side. This is also something that is evolving. Because if you look at the industry also, there is no clear-cut path that anybody has put, including the big tech. They don't have something that says, okay, this is exactly how we approach anomaly detection, or this is exactly how we are looking at Gen AI. There is nothing that has been devised yet, right? So that entire thing is something that there is a high-level guidance that have been given. It's at probably 100,000 feet, and now we got to boil that down to what is applicable for us, and then we have to use whatever tools is out there in order to make it transparent. So when I explain this to my investigative partners, when they look at a risk score and say, Ben, how did you get this subject to be flagged as a 90% risky guy, right? I should be able to explain and say, hey, the 90% is because here are the 3 or 4 features that we used in order to inform this particular insight. And that's why that guy has been categorized as a 90% risky guy, right? So I should be able to kind of make it transparent to them, and they should be able to use that and run with it to the next steps. And providing them, rather than me sitting there and explaining it, I should be able to automate this and provide that, right? I think tech is already there with, there is a lot of tools in the space, things like SHAP, Lime, and all those things. These are like Python packages that can be used in order to provide the transparency. So, I mean, it's a combination of these things that is helping us kind of, define a development space, standardizing it, and also training our folks to make sure that everybody kind of uses them in a very uniform way.
Fantastic. Great answer. The last question I have for you is, when you look ahead in 2024, what is the biggest initiative that you have or focus that you have around data collaboration? And what are some of the challenges you foresee in achieving that?
It is to start the conversation, and I would say we need to start creating those partnerships. More than the tech challenges, I see this as a need to create those stronger partnerships to understand the value of data collaboration. So, and a lot of the folks who are involved in the space, right, who would benefit from this data collaboration, they're like non-tech folks. So it is upon us, tech folks, to kind of inform them about the benefits, the value, and then show them like, okay, here are some of the ways that we can actually enable them. Maybe do some pilots or do some controlled tests so that they kind of see the benefits and they are able to kind of run with it. And they are able to kind of take it to the next leg where they can also influence legislation or the regulatory compliance side of the fence, right? They can also look at it and say, okay, let's make some of those changes, let's put some mandates, and that's kind of the direction that we are heading towards. Again, that's probably something that's going to take a lot of time. Again, it depends on what type of partners we get involved with. We have several conversations that are going on. Again, without going into too much details, that's like a big area of focus. That's just on the data collaboration side. And besides that, one of the things that we also do internally is to kind of have those periodic data jams or data hackathons. Something that we do in my space. We started doing it last year onwards, and we have had so much success where we brought on the entire team one day. We said, okay, here is like a couple of teams. We wanted to build some solutions. It was all done in like one day, right? So those are things that we want to try and expand to other partners, and we want to make sure that we create that collaborative community. So folks understand the value of data, because not everybody really understands the value of data. There is a good segment, there is a decent segment who understands it. I don't want to put a percentage, but besides that, it is upon us to kind of inform the masses so that everybody kind of gets behind this data-driven thing.
Fantastic. Ben Joseph, the Chief Data Officer of USPS OIG. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Mike. It was great talking to you.
Appreciate it.